We're going to take a look at two lightweight carry revolvers, both in 38 Special Plus P. On the right, we have the Taurus Ultra-Lite, and on the left, we have the Ruger LCR. This is the first gen LCR, not the LCR-X, so it's a double action only. It does not have a hammer. Doesn't really make that big of a difference because when you're talking about a snub-nosed revolver like this, in my opinion, you're not going to be using the hammer. I think this is a huge benefit, not having an exposed hammer. So first thing, we'll go down the list and talk about a few specs, and then I'll give you my opinions on both of them. So this gun is a loaner. This gun is mine. Purchased a little while back when Taurus had a sale. Talking about prices, the Taurus is going to start at $299. You can get them around $220 or so pretty easily in stores. I got this one whenever they were having a sale. They had the Taurus $40 mail-in rebate. I got this crazy cheap, like around $150 after the mail-in rebate and a special sale. And the Ruger is going to start at $399, but you can get them pretty easily around $350, even with a couple upgrades like a different sight. You can get different colors and camo jobs, things like that. The weight, the Taurus is going to be a little bit heavier. It's right at 15.8 ounces, and the Ruger is 13.2. So it's a weight that you can feel. You can definitely feel that it's lighter, even though it's just a couple ounces. You can definitely tell when you're handling the guns. The grips, I really like the grip on the Ruger. I think right out of the box, this grip is perfect. And wouldn't you know, it's a Hogue. Kind of hard to beat the Hogues for these small revolvers. I mean, they're really, really great. The rubber gives you nice recoil absorption. And what's even cooler is this has the Hogue recoil tamer. And it says it here on the back, and it's not just a label. If you take this grip off, there's actually a special insert back here that's super duper soft. And I think it'll really help with recoil. The grips on the Taurus are a little bit thinner than the Ruger, and they stick out a tiny bit longer there at the bottom. Now they have some nice texturing here at the back and on the sides, and you also have swells here for where your fingers wrap around, and that part feels really great. But one piece that kind of bugs me is these flared sections, the thumb rests. On the thumb side, they feel great, whether you're right or left-handed. But the thumb rest for the opposite hand really kind of digs in right here. And when you're squeezing the gun really hard, you can definitely feel it, and it's kind of annoying. Definitely something that can be trimmed off. You can see I've actually done some trimming here. It's kind of ugly, but I already have a spare set of these grips, and I've already ordered a Hogue unit. So I wanted to do some experimenting, but you see I've cut out here a little bit. It definitely doesn't affect anything with firing, but it helps with ejection and loading, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Both of the guns will accept a speed loader, but it's a little bit difficult, as with any small gun about the same size, you know. This is a HKS 36 speed loader, and on the Taurus, you can see a cutout here in the grip that's not on the other side. And it's kind of slimmed out, and they actually have an insert right here that's hard and slick. It's actually a piece of plastic or polymer. So that's a kind of cool, they thought about speed loaders, you know, going in there. So it is a little bit tight of a fit, and you have to practice with it for sure. But that little groove they put in there definitely helps out with the speed loaders. On the Taurus, I had to cut out a pretty big section. So take a look at this one and take a look at the other side. I had to cut out this whole part right here just to be able to take a speed loader. But now that section is cut out, the speed loader does go in pretty easily. I also cut it out because on ejection, if I ejected around out like this and spun the cylinder, it would hit the grip. So cutting that grip there also helps out with ejection. I'm all about making the guns more user-friendly and making them how I like them. So this little cutout here, even if I were to leave it and not replace the grips like I'm going to, I mean, it really wouldn't make a difference. It's your gun. You want it to fit the way that you're going to use it. So even if it looks a little bit ugly, who cares? Ejection. So the Taurus actually ejects a tiny bit further than the Ruger. And it's not really a big issue when you're using cases that are not flared out very bad, so cases that fall out pretty easily. But when you have a case that really sticks, let me see if I can find one here. Yeah, there we go. So when you have a case that kind of sticks in the cylinder, that little bit of extra length really does help you eject. So let's put this one in here. See how that one kind of shoots out? Let's try it again on the Ruger. They're tight in both cylinders, so there we go. So a little bit harder on this one, and also the ejection rod on the Taurus I like a lot better. So the way that it works is it comes down and it has a stop, so you see a little bit of that ejection rod is still sticking at the top, and it's knurled there, and it's also rounded on top. Okay, so look at the Ruger. Whenever you push the ejection rod, to get the full stroke, you have to push it all the way until it's flush, right, with that swing arm there, which is a little more difficult to do because naturally, you know, your fingers are not like hard. They're going to deform a little bit. So you see that? So you're not going to get as much stroke. Even if you're doing it the proper way by using your hand, you're not going to get as much. And also, if you look at the end of the rod, it is not rounded. It's actually pretty sharp. And you can see from practicing a little bit earlier, got some nice dents in my hand. Not very comfortable. So I don't like the ejection as much on the Ruger. The Taurus is actually really good. Now, one more thing to say about the ejection. So you can see the marks on my hand here from the ejection rod. Well, one thing you have to keep in mind, you have to be careful of these edges here. They can be pretty sharp. It's not really a big deal on this gun because the ejection rod's kind of out here by itself. But the swing arm on the Taurus is a lot bigger and wider. And see how it sticks off the edge here? That is really, really sharp. And I actually put two pretty bad cuts in my hand just from that little edge there. From, you know, swinging over, trying to do speed reloads, and missing a little bit. You can actually see some of my skin still hanging off. So that can give you a pretty deep cut. I mean, it's something that can be fixed. You can file it down and recoat it. But just to mention that there. The sights. So sights on the Taurus are fixed. Can't do anything about them. You could put a little bit of paint on them if you wanted to. But you just have that rear trough sight and then the serrated front. Now the sights are good. They're easy to pick up. It's actually you can see the different colors of the metal, the aluminum versus the steel, and the finish is a little bit different. It makes it a little bit easier during the day to pick up that front sight, being the two different colors. So not something that they thought about, but it is something that kind of helps. Sights on the Ruger are a lot nicer out of the box. Even just the factory polymer front sight here already has a white mark on it. You have the rear trough sight. The rear sight is not as good as the Taurus in my opinion, but the fact that you can replace the front sight on the Ruger, that's awesome. You can get models that already have fiber optic replacements, or you can replace them yourself. There's a cross pin here that you punch out to replace. So sights on the Ruger are definitely better. As far as fit and finish, no doubt the Ruger wins. I mean, hands down. If you put this thing in your front pocket and you put this thing in your front pocket, you can tell a huge difference. And what I mean is like all the edges and things like that. So putting this thing in a front pocket without a holster is kind of painful. It has a lot of sharp edges just all over the place, especially the cylinder here that really dig into you. This gun right here, everything is nice and round. I mean, there's not a sharp spot on this gun. The cylinder is really well chamfered at the front and the back. So fit and finish definitely goes to the Ruger. If you look at the cylinders, you can see that the Ruger barely has a little bit of chamfering on the cylinders to help with loading. and the Taurus does not. Really straight cuts here on the Taurus. But they both seem to load just as easily. Give you a couple looks around these guns. I have not fired either one of these guns yet. I've done lots of dry practice reloading and dry firing here in the shop. So in the next video, I'm going to take both of these revolvers out and put at least 100 rounds through them, probably a little bit more. I may do 250 rounds through each if I have the time. So that's the next video. Stay tuned. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Thanks for watching.